Spring had arrived in the small town of Hollow Creek, bringing with it a lush green rebirth. The air was thick with the scent of blooming flowers and the hum of bees. But this year something felt different. The kudzu, that invasive vine that had always crept along the edges of the forest, seemed to be growing faster, thicker, and more aggressively than anyone could remember. At first, no one paid much attention. Kudzu was a nuisance, sure, but it was just a plant. It covered old barns, swallowed fences, and draped itself over trees like a verdant blanket. But as the days passed, the townsfolk began to notice strange things. The kudzu wasn't just growing, it was moving. Emily, a high school senior, was the first to see it. She had been walking home from her part-time job at the diner, cutting through the woods to save time. The sun was setting, casting long shadows through the trees. As she passed an old oak, she noticed the kudzu rustling, though there was no wind. She stopped, her heart pounding, and watched as the vines slowly uncoiled from the tree, stretching toward her like tendrils of a living thing. She bolted, her sneakers pounding the dirt path until she reached the safety of her house. The next morning, Emily told her friends, but they laughed it off. Kudzu's just a plant, they said. You're imagining things. But by the end of the week, others began to see it too. Old Mr. Thompson claimed the kudzu had wrapped itself around his tractor overnight, pulling it into the undergrowth. Mrs. Carter swore she saw the vines slithering across her porch, reaching for her cat. The town was abuzz with rumors, but no one could explain what was happening. Then the disappearances began. First it was a dog, then a child, then a group of teenagers who had gone camping in the woods. Search parties scoured the area, but all they found were patches of kudzu, thicker and denser than anywhere else. The vines seemed to pulse faintly, as if breathing, and a sickly sweet smell hung in the air around them. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the kudzu was watching her. She started seeing it everywhere, peeking through her window at night, creeping along the edges of the schoolyard, even winding its way through the cracks in the sidewalk. Her parents thought she was paranoid, but she knew better. The kudzu was alive, and it was hungry. One night, Emily woke to the sound of scratching at her window. She froze, her breath caught in her throat, as the kudzu vines slithered up the glass, tapping lightly as if asking to be let in. She grabbed her phone and called the police, but the line was dead. The power went out next, plunging the house into darkness. Emily could hear the vines now rustling and creaking as they wrapped around the house, squeezing tighter and tighter. She ran to her parents' room, but it was too late. The kudzu had already found them, its tendrils coiled around their bodies, pulling them into the shadows. Emily screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the oppressive green. She tried to fight, to run, but the vines were everywhere, wrapping around her legs, her arms, her throat. As the kudzu dragged her into the night, Emily realized the truth. The vine wasn't just alive. It was intelligent. It had been waiting, biding its time until it was strong enough to take the town, and now there was no escape. By morning, Hollow Creek was silent. The kudzu covered everything, a sea of green stretching as far as the eye could see, and deep within its depths, something stirred, waiting for the next spring to come.